The TikTok deal between the U.S. and Communist China has gotten a final approval, and the president will meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping later this year. Trump says he had a very productive phone call with Xi earlier this morning and suggested they approve the TikTok deal. Under the deal, the Chinese-owned social media platform will transfer its U.S. assets to U.S. buyers. This would keep it operational in the U.S. The buyers are still unclear. Trump says he and Xi made progress on many very different issues, including very important issues, including trade, fentanyl, and the war in Ukraine. Trump also says he will meet Xi in person at the APEC summit in South Korea this year from October 31st to November 1st. Early next year, the president will visit China and have Xi visit the U.S. at another time. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced a $10 billion deal with Taiwan, finalized a TikTok deal. Joining us now to discuss this is Casey Fleming, Chairman and CEO of Black Ops Partners Corporation, and we have Morris Tan, former U.S. Ambassador at Large for the Office of Global Criminal Justice and former Dean of Liberty University School of Law. So first of all, good afternoon to you both. Casey, can I start with you? Can we get your reactions to this potential deal here?
The TikTok deal, with all of my experience, it says it's a no deal. You have to understand who the Chinese Communist Party is, what their laws are from years ago, saying that all data, intellectual property must be turned over to the Chinese Communist Party for national security reasons. Therefore, that extends to all their apps, all their technology outside of the Chinese borders. So from a technology standpoint, you cannot separate all the millions of lines of code and basically say, yeah, we're just going to turn this over to the United States and keep their data inside the United States and so on. So at a minimum, TikTok is a weaponized military application. It's a Trojan horse in the hands of all of our children. What that means is it's for espionage and it's for cognitive warfare. That will never change. And there's an old saying, if the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping's mouth is moving, they're telling a lie. We've been played by these guys for way too long. There you go.
Okay, Ambassador Tan, can I get your reactions as well? Casey has made some great points. How can we be certain that servers in China won't still have backdoor access to American user data?
No, I think there are cybersecurity risks. This is why in the first Trump administration, TikTok was outright banned, because there was concern that it could be used by the CCP to identify the exact coordinates, for example, of our soldiers in the U.S. And so there would have to be extensive cybersecurity measures that would have to be in place, because you have civil-military fusion in the Chinese Communist Party, where anything that's used, it's not like the U.S. business-governmental relationship. Anything in the civil realm, including businesses, can be used and can be weaponized by the Chinese Communist Party. That is their doctrine. That is their modus operandi. So it's very important, if this were to move forward, to be able to safeguard against all those things, and for there to be enough of a controlling interest in it and enough technological expertise to try to block any attempt to be able to engage in malign activities through TikTok USA, which is what it would become if it moves forward.
Okay, Casey, if President Trump is determined to move forward down this path with the deal with TikTok, is there a way where there would be absolutely no security concerns?
Zero. Technology, yeah, as the other gentleman mentioned, it is the Chinese Communist Party's operational plan. It's their doctrine to weaponize everything against the free world, including the United States. So it's a communist totalitarian regime at war with the United States. Why would you ever think about allowing some type of app or technology to linger on, and especially in the hands of our children, our military, our young adults? I mean, you get facial recognition, you get retinal scans, you get geolocation of all the pictures, all the videos, all the texts, the emails, everything. Why would you give that power to an enemy? And again, from a technology perspective, and I've got a few years in technology and in cyber, there's no way to get that done. Today, everything can be masked, everything can be redirected, and it's a no-go. So the only way around this is to create a new application in the United States, managed in the United States, and it doesn't leave any servers that are located in the United States. Back to you.
So, Ambassador Tan, would you be able to comment in light of this pursuit for a deal? Can you talk to us about U.S.-China relations at this moment?
Well, there have not been extensive communications between Xi and Trump. I believe this was the second time there's been direct communications, and there have been 4 working group meetings at lower levels, is my understanding. They are talking about meeting at the APEC meeting in South Korea at the end of October and the beginning of November, meeting at that meeting for President Trump to go meet Chairman Xi in China, and then for Chairman Xi to come back to the U.S. To meet with President Trump at, quote, an appropriate time. And so this is in the midst of tariff tensions. This is in the midst of tensions in regards to drugs coming, especially fentanyl, which has killed many Americans. This is in the midst of tensions in Asia, whether it's over the possibility of an invasion of Taiwan or other Asian neighbors in the South China Sea. This is in the midst of a situation where China has been propping up North Korea and has been engaged in gray zone warfare, hybrid warfare against South Korea. And a lot of people don't realize how extensive and how, frankly, successful the CCP has been in their hybrid warfare against South Korea, our longtime ally and very important ally.
So, Casey, I can't help but wonder, because Beijing is, playing a part in this deal. It seems like it's willing to go forward on this. What does China get out of it?
Beijing will always play the United States. They've been playing us for 50 years. It will not change. They will tell us what they think we want to hear. We will take what we think we want to hear from the Chinese Communist Party, but they have no intention of giving any ground to the United States or the free world. They are in an absolute war. It's called unrestricted war. Other people call it hybrid war. It's been going on around the world, as Ambassador Tan mentioned as well. They are continuing to play the United States. And don't forget, 3 weeks ago, they hosted the Axis nations, which is China. CCP is the grand puppeteer. Underneath them, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, North Korea, Brazil, and underneath Iran are the terrorist organizations, again, with the CCP being the grand puppeteer. I'll say it again. If the CCP's mouth is moving, Xi Jinping, they're lying and they're playing us. When are we going to wake up?
Okay, Ambassador Tan, do you think, in your view, the U.S. should, at the very least, attach some form of conditions relating to human rights, right, in this potential deal with TikTok, with China?
I think human rights should be viewed as the most important difference between the United States of America and the CCP as well. So basically, in a war of whose values are better, whose moral standards and compass is better, whose respect for human rights is better, it's not even close, which is why when I served as Ambassador at Large for Global Criminal Justice, probably the most important thing we did was the mass atrocity determinations for crimes against humanity and genocide that the CCP has committed against Uyghurs and other Turkic minorities in Xinjiang province, but it's not limited to that one location or that one group. They have engaged in all sorts of human rights violations, not only within China, but outside as well.
So Casey, I want to understand, I want to make it clear here. Are you saying that even with this deal, security concerns would be exactly the same as before? Or perhaps it would be, there will be security concerns, but it'll be less than before. Which one are you saying?
More security concerns. It's something that we've got to totally get behind. Again, the CCP is not to be trusted. They formed a global Axis alliance of aggressors to take over the free world. We're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in the Middle East. We're seeing it all over the place. So it is something that it's very serious. I think we're at a junction right now of moving forward. Ambassador Tan is 100% correct. The difference in our values are the human rights piece of it. And it's not just the atrocities towards the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, and the Falun Gong. We need to get also into the forced human organ harvesting, which another word for that is murder. Those are all things that basically invalidates the Chinese Communist Party. If we can continue to hammer on human rights violations, which they are experts in, we will, over time, the free world will say, hey, we don't want to do business with these people. They're harming other human beings. And so calling that piece of it out is very embarrassing to the Chinese Communist Party. And to Ambassador Tan's credit, that's absolutely what needs to happen.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time here. Ambassador, if you have any final thoughts.
Yes, I completely agree with that. You know, it's so brazen that Xi Jinping and Putin were talking about living, having immortal lives through organ transplantation. There is massive medical tourism, as it's called, going into China for organ transplants. Why? Because they engage in widespread murder, that is the correct word, to harvest fresh organs to be transplanted. And people come in from all over the world, and even Putin now is getting in the act saying, oh yeah, Xi, you and I will live forever through organ transplantation. And now there are reports that this is even happening by Chinese operatives in South Korea, believe it or not. So this is very real, and they were even talking about it publicly at the military parade that was held in China recently, that Putin and Kim Jong-un and let me also point out the third-ranking person from South Korea also attended. And this is something where people need to wake up, I think, as Casey is so forcefully articulating, that they are trying to take over the world. They are trying to eliminate the U.S. as the lone superpower in the world and to replace the U.S. along these lines. And they will use all means to increase their power, to decrease the U.S. power, and to elbow the U.S. out as the lone superpower. That is their public goal. They have declared a people's war on the United States. They are engaged in this war worldwide. And the sooner people realize that these cartoonish sounding descriptions are actually true about the CCP, the better.
Okay, quickly, Ambassador Tan, before we wrap up here, you meant North Korea, right? How strong is the relationship between China, North Korea, and Russia right now?
So about half the ammunition that Russia is using comes from North Korea nowadays. And Russia reportedly gave maybe something to the tune of $9–10 billion to North Korea. And China, over 90% of the economic interaction that North Korea has generally had has been with China. And so it is crucial. We're talking about number 2, 3, and 4 militaries in the world. The North Korean military being the number 4, and China and Russia being number 2 and number 3. US, of course, being number 1. And let me note that South Korea is number 5. So you have the five largest militaries in the world that are concentrated there in Northeast Asia, and those who are involved in Northeast Asia. And so what is going on, if we are not careful and if things do not go well, can actually become World War III.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you, Ambassador Tan and Casey, for shedding a very important light on this issue. We appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.